Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is Stiefne, or St. Stephen's Green. I am quite literally at the heart of the cairn right now from a Song of Tara. The two, what are they called? The two fountains, this and that one over there, are referenced more than a few times throughout the campaign, and the absolute dead center of the whole thing, the heart of the cairn, if you would, is right there in the middle with these gentlemen walking around working. Right up here you have the little bridge that early on in the campaign that Eric comes walking across, making a challenge to fist and liver, and it ends up with a great big fist fight. And over here you can barely see it, but right there is the stretch of water that Eric got thrown into by the then RE, or sorry, the then almost RE Ross. And this, well, is not the most untamed and unspoiled wilderness part of all of Dublin, obviously, but this is where I decided to set up the hearts of the Ravenseye Sept and the cairn for the campaign, because of the layout of the park. In that, if you see all of this from above, it's hard to see from down here, but if you see it from above, it forms an ancient pagan symbol, which is a sun wheel. And for a Get of Fenris cairn, it seemed, I suppose, appropriate. And well, yeah, I'm going to be doing a few more of these little snippets of video, and you can get to see some of the places that the campaign played out in. If you would, try to imagine that over there on the fountain over there, you might have Peacenik and Francesca and Cesar sitting, and right here in the middle you'll have Cats and Raven having a conversation, and you'll have Joe probably sitting on one of these benches talking to Matthew, and over there by that fountain you might have some of the new kids like Nadia, or even a few of the player characters sitting around talking, hanging out. There's a little gazebo back that away somewhere where the some of the events played out as well. But yes, this is the heart of St. Stephen's Green, in the middle of Dublin, where I am currently on holidays. So yes, enjoy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you remember, there was in A Song of Tara, there was a shopping centre very close to St. Stephen's Green, to the Sept, to the cairn, where the heroes would occasionally go to have a wee conversation with a great big many-legged ally of theirs in the shape of a great big spider, and a spirit, obviously. And I'm there right now, and I'm just going to show you a bit of what the interior of this place looks. So, try to imagine this place with, layers and layers and layers of dust and slightly run down, because the spirit version of this would be, completely overrun by miniature spiders. It would have cobwebs everywhere and so on and so forth. But I'll let you have a look. So as you can see, this is a sort of Victorian style glass construction, and it's actually quite lovely. It's quite nice looking, and it's in the summer it's airy and light and open, and quite nice to be here actually. The shops here, which you might expect would be like super exclusive and massively expensive and so on, they're just normal, like Easons and Flying Tiger, amusingly enough, is a Danish concept, as you can see. Flying Tiger of Copenhagen. They're all over Ireland as well. I think they're in many places by now. It was just called Tiger until recently, but apparently they decided that it wasn't wild enough, so they wanted it to fly or something. And we are actually coming up rapidly on the location and the home of the great big spider in the campaign, because it was located. It was living with all its cobwebs and its many offspring here in this Dunnes store, or in the spirits world in the Umbra, in what would be located in the same place as this Dunnes store. So yeah, I figured again this might be one of those locations that might be fun to see how it actually looks for real. And the location is quite something. It's very different. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here in one of the most epic locations from the entire campaign. Right down here where you can see these gentlemen carrying something across, and then I'll pan around to up there where you can see that's the entrance to St. Stephen's Green right up there. That means that this place right here is where a heavily pregnant Aideen towards the end of the campaign was beset by the minions, the foul minions of the worm, and where a small group of the heroes intercepted these foul minions, and while Aideen was grievously wounded, she and the baby survived, and from within the shopping centre up there, right next to that entrance that I have already done a small recording of, the great big spider arrived to assist. So this is quite literally one of the flashpoints, hot points of the entire end of the campaign. And as you can see, it's not very far. She was very close to safety when she was attacked. But of course, she would not have made it if not for our erstwhile and intrepid heroes. And I imagine the actual fight would have taken place right by these two metal urns with plants. Well, this is not a place in which much happened over the course of the campaign, but it is a place where, well, somebody important for the campaign has been located. At least temporarily. She wasn't supposed to be here for that long, but she might just end up being here permanently. I am, of course, talking about Molly, also known as the tart with the cart, or the whore with more, and a lot of other nice things, or more commonly, the most fondled titties in Dublin. As you can see, they're quite shiny. That's for a reason. But this is the statue that Victoria Rogers, also known as Molly Malone, asked the players to take down by the time they were done fighting her off. So yes, it's currently located outside the tourist information in Dublin, which is in an old church. I don't think I have ever created a villain or villainess for any of my campaigns quite as massively unpopular as her. In the right kind of way, may I add. People really hated her, which was obviously kind of the intention and the idea. But yes, this is the statue of Molly Malone, which so divided the waters of the Irish public when she was originally put up, because, well, let's just say the more conservative elements of Irish society felt that she was, well, a little too revealing. And of course, this, being the as I said, the tart with the cart, the the cockles and the mussels that her song refers to are all right here in the baskets. And yes, one more nice long look at the most fondled bosom in all of Ireland. Right, so here we go. I apologize if there's some background noise, but I'm going to be doing a walk from here for a couple of minutes, so, Anyway, this is a very important location in the campaign, because this is as you can tell, this is Temple Bar. This is not just the district Temple Bar, but it is the entire, this is the actual bar by that name, from which the whole thing gets its name. And I'll just walk through the Temple Bar district and head down this way. This is, if you imagine, as you can kind of tell probably from the cobblestones here, it's a kind of a wet day here in Dublin, and if you imagine this place, it's pitch black, it's dark, and the you know the foul undead denizens of the night are out in force. This is the kind of, you know, the kind of place where you would find, you know, most of the nightlife in Dublin happens around these parts. It is a very, very, very busy place come sundown, especially on the weekends. And I'm coming up on a turn over here, which is quite important, because when I do in fact turn down this road over here, I will be heading down to where the Three Dragonflies Tattoos studio was located in the campaign, and consequently right in here you can tell this is extremely narrow, but it also means I'm coming up on one of the most important places, probably the most important place in the entire campaign, with the exception of the green. Actually, the Three Dragonflies Tattoos was supposed to be in here, where there's a shoe store. But I'm coming up under the arc, as it's called, and I'm coming up on an extremely important location for the campaign. One moment. And, well, here we go. Quite apart from the traffic and such, I am, in fact, right now standing. That is what is known as Halfpenny Bridge, because that's the price it used to cost to get across it back in the olden days, when it was still newly built and constructed. And of course, the whole point of that is that here, down here, this is the River Liffey, passing down that way towards O'Connell Bridge, and I will get down there later and do another little video down there, because obviously O'Connell Bridge is important in a number of ways. But the span that the players cleaned out, made accessible, where they could talk to the Liffey, where she could manifest and, you know, rise out of the murky waters, as you can probably tell from the small amount I showed you a moment ago here. This here, again, is the Liffey. It's not exactly pristine blue, unfortunately. It's sad, but there you go. However, it's, as I think I mentioned, there is a yearly, an annual race here in Dublin, where the new students up at Trinity College will jump into the waters and swim between this bridge, Halfpenny Bridge, and O'Connell Bridge down there. And the Garda nowadays won't allow them to swim this relatively short span unless they're wearing wetsuits, because it's too dangerous. However, the span that the players had cleansed is between where I'm standing now and that small expansion over there, that small bridge over there. That was all that they had managed to cleanse of the River Liffey until the very end of the campaign, with the great nets made of moonlight. So yes, I'm sure she's busy snoozing right now, or I'd call out and ask if she would come up and have a talk, but you know, suspension of disbelief. This place is slightly important. It's going to be just a short little video, but this place is important to the story, because I am currently located in the very street where Ideen and Liam had their flats, where they lived, and where uh, where Maddie moved in and a certain bull moved in at one point, or the spirit of a bull anyway. And the location where they were living was right up there in these buildings with the well, the slightly futuristic window setting there on the right. So yeah, moving on from here towards, well, another of the epic locations. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is in fact one of those places. I'm going to have to do another little walk here. It's probably not going to be that long, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because this, where I'm standing right now, is a pivotal place in the campaign early on. This is Wolftone Square. This is where the young pups were sent to prove that they could, you know, get along and so on and so forth, and where they were pestered by ghosts all night. Because this is, in fact, well, according to local legend anyway, the most haunted place in all of Dublin. And the reason for this is that this used to be a graveyard. This used to be a cemetery where, well, for quite a long time people were buried here, and then it was cancelled. And well, according to, as I said, to local legend, the ghosts of those who were buried here are still here. When I lived here, there was a swing set and a small playground up here. They clearly removed that because, you know, the kids never used it for whatever reasons. And instead now they have a small cafe here, which looks kind of cozy actually. And you can see the stones there at the back. Those are gravestones. Those are the actual gravestones of the people who were buried here. And it had, as you can tell from here, there are quite a number of them. And they're all turned, or most of them anyway, are turned. As you can see, some of them are not. But otherwise, they are turned with their, you know, to face inwards, so that the text is not ruined for future generations. But they haven't gotten rid of the gravestones. As you can see, they're still here. The square itself isn't, you know, as you can see, it's not much. And no, that's not a real cow. Before any of you fly off the walls, oh my God, Ireland! What kind of barbaric place is it? They have cows in the middle of the city. It's a statue. But this is where the players hung out, met various ghosts, including one of Aaron's ancestors, and this is also where they saw the Order of Arno for the first time. In game, the Order was standing up there, or some of their members anyway, were standing up there on top of this building, pointing crossbows down towards the, or possibly over there anyway, but on that building, pointing crossbows with silver-tipped arrows down towards the garoo on the ground. But I'm not quite done here yet, because quite apart from all these flying rodents that I'm now passing through, shoo, go away, bready birds, including a white one for whatever reason. I'm coming up here around the building, this one here, and when I get around this building, I'm sure you will see why this is important, because this is in fact the location of one of the most epic scenes of the entire campaign, in my opinion. This, you see, this building is known as the church. For good reason. It is an old church. It's not anymore. Nowadays, it is in fact a nightclub, restaurant. And in-game, of course, this place is where the player characters, the heroes, came face to face with the first two major Black Spiral Dancer NPCs or villains, including Azrael, whom ended up flying out this window with his great big wings, ended up right out here in front of the toy store over here. And of course, if you look up this way, that is the Millennium Spire. You can see up at the end of that, and that is O'Connell Street. So I am on what is known as Henry Street now, and from that red building right at the corner there next to the Millennium Spire, Nadia had a very, very excellent field of vision with her Lati L39 anti-tank rifle, and she blew his head off, literally. This was, in my opinion, one of the most epic scenes in the entire campaign, and it happened right here. So you have to imagine this entire place splattered with the sad, sorry remains of Black Spiral Dancer for the players to deal with. Well, here I am. One of my final stops on this little trip around Dublin. Video trip anyway. I'm standing in the middle of O'Connell Bridge. Right there you can see the statue of O'Connell. This was there when the Easter Rising took place in 1916, and there are still bullet holes in the angels around the base, believe it or not. You know, one of them has a gunshot literally right through her chest, so she would have been dead. But this is an important place because this is where Dublin North would be on this end and Dublin South would be down here, and they would be unable to fully meet until the very end of the campaign, where quite literally by this fantastic lamppost where I'm standing right now would the two of them meet and be unwilling to let go of one another and just kiss each other madly and furiously. It is also the place over here where that group of people are standing is where the character of Matthew would normally be sitting, and where the man on whom the character was built would often be found back when I lived here. Obviously O'Connell Bridge is, I mean, I know that the pictures here are very shaky and so on, but I am standing on a platform in the middle of a heavily trafficked road, so I'm sure you can understand why I'm not being, you know, it's a little rattling. People are driving around left and right at all times, and I'm not terribly good with crowds to begin with. But this is one of the places where the characters would very, very often come. If you look down there, that building with the green roof is the financial centre. This is where, towards the end of the campaign, where the players went and confronted the steady stream of admittedly rather underpowered, but still a steady stream of Banes being released by the Black Spiral Dancer Coriolanus that they hadn't met until that point. But that's in there, and just beyond it, it's just outside of view right now, is the rather harp-shaped bridge that came down, crashing down when Mr. Ponsonby decided to interrupt the players in their endeavours to cleanse out the Liffey with their great big nets. And I mean, you can see the width of the Liffey here, and you can see it again over on this side, and I've already shown you the Liffey in other places as well. Now imagine having a group of werewolves actually dragging a net through that and the entire way out of Dublin over the course of a single night. It was quite a remarkable feat, and very in itself, again, I know that I use the word a lot, but it was an epic feat and should be seen as such. Right down here, that grey building right there is the Pierce Street Garda station, where Liam was, well, employed for a while early on while he was still able to maintain some kind of facade. And I'm heading down in that direction right now for one of the last couple of stops I'm going to be doing on this little round trip of locations in Dublin, because, you know, I need a pint, and there's a place there that I can get it that I think you might want to see. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am in fact a feckin' idiot, because of course that grey building there is not the Pierce Street Garda station. This is the Pierce Street Garda station, and I know it says Townsend Street here. The street running behind it is Pierce Street. It's larger and it's bigger, and that's why it's got that name. But this Garda station is where Liam worked initially. It's also where Eric Holmgren had a let's say a room that was, if not his to rent, then it had pretty much had his name on it early on in the campaign, when he had not yet suffered some brain injury that caused him to have you know, slightly easier time controlling his, until that point, completely uncontrollable rage. That was well, in this place. But quite importantly, it's also the home. This little street is the home of the Longstone pub, which of course is also an important location in the campaign. It's a place I used to come quite a lot while I lived here. So here we go. This is in fact the Longstone. And let's see if they're open already. They might not be. Nope, not yet. So I'll have to get my pint elsewhere. But that's fine. This is a a place where the interior decor is something out of the ordinary. They have a let's just call it a barbarian / Viking theme. And as you can see from the wall here, you know, Viking pub. This is the wall leading into the beer garden for the Longstone pub, incidentally. But they're closed as of yet, so I suppose I shall have to get my pint elsewhere at a later date. But yes, I figured I should show you at least where that was. And this is all centered. All of the places I've been so far are all centered in Dublin, within about, I'd say about maybe a mile, maybe a mile and a half of each other. And you know, they're very closely clumped together. Well, there's only one more place that I'm going to go and show you before I'm all done with this little tour of a song, a Tara relevant locations. But well, yeah, you'll see where that is when we get there. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, final stop for me. I'm not heading out to Tara, however much it might seem appropriate. I don't have a car, and heading out to Tara is a bit excessive, just to film a few minutes of tape on those green hills. I've been there before, so you know, not much of a trip for me, obviously. But there is one more place here in Dublin that I want to show you before we're done, and of course it's this. This is the Bleeding Horse pub, where the She court, or the Fae court of Dublin, of Ireland, is located, and consequently where the Cathane, well, that is their home really. There's a small room up there, leading into the largest freehold in all of Ireland, which is the court of Queen Maeve. She of course fell during the Second Battle of Tara. So yeah, anyway, that's all part of the story. If you head down from the pub is there, if you head down that way and then to the left, then you get down towards St. Stephen's Green, which is about 500 meters further down that road. And if you head down this way, eventually you'll get to where Odd and Peacenake and a few others were killed by the McAlpins early on in the story, and that of course is what set all the shenanigans and adventures off really in earnest. So yeah, obviously there are a few places here in Dublin that I haven't been to, such as, you know, Christchurch and a few others where, you know, they met with where they met with the ghosts for the first time, in the Unquiet Dead, that kind of place. There are a few places that you haven't seen that I haven't been to, but I'm sure that, you know, just getting a ground's eye perspective of some of the places with a bit of traffic in the background and so on might help give you all a little bit more of a feel feel for the campaign setting. As I'm sure you can tell from the pictures that I've been shooting as well, the architecture of Dublin is, well, I won't call it unique, but it lends itself well to a World of Darkness campaign. Dublin is actually quite a nice city, but the buildings have something to them where, if you imagine that everything is dark and it's, I don't know, 15% more run down than it is now, it could have this sort of semi-sinister look to it, and that's one of the reasons why I like this city so much as a setting for the game and the campaign. Anyway, this has been, I thought, a little bit of bonus material for those of you who followed the campaign, and I hope that you will still continue to follow us here in Charismatoac, and that you'll continue to follow the new campaigns that are going on. Who knows, I might make one of these before my next campaign starts up in Copenhagen. After all, I live there, so it shouldn't be too hard to go around and get all the different locations filmed, providing there's any interest, of course. But anyway, thank you for watching and listening in, and I do hope that you will continue to do so. And that's it for me here from Dublin. I'm going to continue my holidays and hopefully find that pint at long last. Bye.